Hi, I'm Andre Huey. Welcome to this special edition of Inside Politics here on TVC Channel 40 for those watching us on tvcplus.live and those watching in St. Martin on the Tel TV Plus network. On this edition, of course, as you may be aware, St. Martin is in a snap election season, and a number of parties have nominated or postulated themselves, and candidates have postulated themselves for the upcoming August 19th poll. And so today we're going to be talking to one of the candidates from one of the established parties in St. Martin, the Democratic Party. We have Mr. Alston Lourens, who is one of the candidates on the DP list. Alston, thanks for being with us.
Andrew, thank you for having me, for sure. You said established parties, but we should be clear. DP is 70 years
old this year, yes.
70 years old this year. That's past established. That's an institution itself.
The oldest party in the country.
Oldest party in the country since 1954. So women could vote as long as the Democratic Party has been around.
Right.
Think about that.
So then I guess that's a good segue to ask this question. Why the DP?
Why the DP? Very important to me. There are new reasons and there are old reasons. The old reasons, they come from a deeper place, and I grew up in DP. I grew up in a prosperous St. Martin that was run by DP over and over and over and over. That's the old way. And from there, I went on to the United People's Party. I started with the original group.
Which is an offshoot from the DP.
Which is an offshoot of the DP, like most are anyway.
Yes.
Right? And then from there, that went south. As we all can see, that went south. And so I'm back at the DP, and the family has all come home. If you voted, we just voted 5-6 months ago. We just voted. We just already went through a 12-week campaign. Everybody voted and had made a choice. And people postulated themselves and they said what they were going to do. How much could have changed in 6 months, right? If you have voted, I'm saying to people, if you have voted for someone and they were elected, and you are proud of them, then vote for them again. But if you voted for a party or a person last time, and they have something to do with why the reason we're here now again, then maybe you should change your vote. People should vote for the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party, as I mentioned already, goes steady on that course. They postulated, they were elected, they were part of government, they went to work, and they're still at work. They had nothing to do with government falling, with none of the Democratic Party was going to work. And I think that's what we need now, besides the nostalgic memories of the Democratic Party actually leading this country. We need to start to believe in the things that have worked on this island. And for that, I want to ask people to please vote for the Democratic Party for this election, because you need that stability. Since they like to say the word, the others like to use the word stability. Real stability, 70 years going strong.
So let me ask this, because you mentioned something about nostalgia, because over the years, even before 10-10-10, there was this perception that people voted for the DP because of the nostalgia, because of Claude Watty, because of the legacy of the party, and not so much on the performance of the party.
I think there were periods of a lot of development. And so when you have periods of development, remember the DP were in power for such a long time before it started to switch hands. Different types of development happens when the hands switch, and we had higher supervision at some point. We went through 2 referendums, and we started to get into some muddy years, so to say. And in that time, when nothing is happening, nothing is developing, nothing is new, everybody's nostalgic. Everybody's nostalgic, and nostalgia in that point in time means I remember this not being this hard. I remember living here not being this difficult. That time was the Democratic Party's time. So the word is now, some parties would run away from it. It's not a word to run away from. People are feeling, is this still the friendly island? Is this still my country? I remember this place feeling differently, and I'm not afraid of that word. And the DP was the ones at that time. And that's what I think we kind of need now. It's kind of cool. Everybody had their own parties, and parties pop up like this and like that. But professionalism, we've seen in the Democratic Party's electorate, the people who have been elected by them. The leader, President of Parliament, was asked to be the President of Parliament. That was not part of negotiations. She is there for a reason. We all look to her and it's like, okay, if somebody's going to keep it real and keep it on point, it's going to be Sarah Westcott. She hasn't been part of those things.
Right.
And that is what we need right now in the country.
Let me talk to you about, before I even get to about some of the things that you would like to see or that you're intending to push forward and spearhead if and when you're elected. I want to talk a bit about, and again, you made mention of it, the fact that we're going back to the polls some 5-6 months later.
Yeah.
And this is something that has happened repeatedly since 10-10-10. Many thought, many were hoping, this will last and we won't have to go back to the polls as we were doing in the previous years. But again, as you said, we're now back to the polls some 5-6 months later. Voter apathy, is that a concern for you? Are you concerned that for this election especially that people are just going to be fed up and just won't show up to the polls?
I'm fed up.
We've been seeing a lot of low voter turnouts.
I'm fed up. I'm fed up. I think everybody in the political process is fed up except those that really needed this to happen or really needed government to fall. I'm coming across that all the time. And with me in particular, it's kind of interesting because people are finding out that I'm running and they wonder, but why, what took you so long? And so when they're like, man, I was not going to vote. I really was going to vote, Al. I was really not going to vote. If you run, I'm going to vote for you. I take those, but I also explain to them, we need to stop this from happening. So yes, everybody throws up the word stability, but we really need to stop this from happening.
But what will it take for that to happen? What?
It takes political maturity. So let's start there.
Yeah.
So you need to have a party, or you need to have a bloc in parliament that's mature. You need to have that. You need to have a set of parliamentarians that could take us to where we need to go and defend where we are now. That's what we need. That's why we need to vote better right now. We voted last time. It's so much splits. We have a coalition with 4 different parties in one coalition. They're going to try to make it work. That's what the plan was. But look, it's shaky. One person and we know. We can date today and we could talk about that.
Right.
But the point is, the reason why we need to vote is that we can stop this government falling, because we need to get into parties that are more stable, parties that are mature, and then Parliament can move forward in the right way. Because that's not happening enough.
Right.
Parliament has scandals all the time. Scandals. 4 years. Those 2 parties, they can really talk about 4 years of stability. That's what they say. But it was marred with scandal, marred with debt, marred with so much miscommunication and different things going on. We need to have a steady term, 1 or 2.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you think that's possible still with a similar coalition arrangement as we had in January?
No. But the similar that we had in January, definitely no. We cannot be that, the vote cannot be that sparse. We do need to have bigger parties. We do need to have, and that's also crazy. That brings up another crazy notion. How could the 2 biggest parties that ran and talked about how stable they kept government for 4 years, how are their lists not full? Via their list, one party lost 11 members and added 5, another one lost 9 and added 4. Of the 2 big parties that said they were stable, if people were really proud of your work, they should be rushing to your door to want to run and be part of the party. Your own membership should want to be part of the party, your own youth wings. And so when I look at that, I don't know if people are paying attention to what's going on, but they're trying to take back the government down their direction, which we obviously do not like. One lost 20%, the other one 29%, something like that. We need bigger parties. We need people to come out. So if you're a Democratic Party and you're celebrating 70 years of some time that you really were part of the party, we really need you to vote so that we could stop this.
So on that note, do you think that the Democratic Party can win more than 2 seats this time around?
Yes, definitely. Definitely, I have full faith in what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing. I've been around politics for a very long time. I definitely see the Democratic Party going up in seats this time. Obviously because of the hits that the others are taking as well. And we're in a celebratory year. There's no better year to go red than this year. This for the second time this year. But this time it proves the point. Let's get a big Democratic bloc in the next coalition so that we can go back to old times.
Right. Let's talk about what are some of the areas that you're campaigning on. Obviously it took you some time to decide to run again and this time to run with the Democratic Party. What were some of the things that you're looking or you're pitching to the electorate why they should vote?
My main thing I am pitching is just better representation. Most people would say they know me or know a little bit about me. A lot of people know me from Carnival, being the president of Carnival or being a board member of the SCDF for how long? 15 years I was there. And a lot don't know that I've worked in Parliament, 3 different factions. I've worked for ministers, 2 different ministers, and I have that sort of experience as well. And so I am realizing where I really want to make a difference as well is also, I'm trying to be a better representative. I also am very big in the NGO world. I've had many years serving there under 4C Foundation in different groups. So I want to use this wide perspective I have, a knowledgeable experience to really, really be a better representative. No matter what hits that table, we have to decide to have the proper view to make a better decision. That's one. Another one is nation building. I think we are struggling to know what to do because we are struggling to figure out who we are. What's a St. Maarten? Like that is something that I champion. I have been championing for 20 years since I've been back here in different groups, on radio, all over the place. That needs to be fixed. The second or third paragraph in the Constitution says get an anthem, and we don't have an anthem yet. These are the little things, you know. We have this flag, we have another flag, we have a flag. We need to fix things straight because imagine how confused our kids are about their identity as a St. Maartener when we have not defined who a St. Maartener is. How can we do benefits for a St. Maarten if we do not define what a St. Maartener is?
Well, that takes me to the next question, because I know you have been pro-independence. You've been a staunch supporter of independence of St. Maarten.
Personally and as a country.
And as a country.
People, yes.
Now the question is, how realistic do you think that is going to be on the Democratic Party leadership? Because we haven't quite heard the DP or any of the major parties speaking out in favor of independence. It has always been maintaining the status quo, so to speak.
That's a very important question. You know, when we go to independence, it won't be no one party. All the parties need to have independent candidates or candidates that think about independence. Because we are in very trying times. Our one minister just came back from St. Kitts. That's where you're living in St. Kitts. I have family in St. Kitts as well. St. Kitts is still the youngest independent nation in the world, and it just celebrated 40 years.
40 years going on 41.
Going on 41. St. Kitts is doing well. Back then, we would look at independence and say, oh no, it's going to be a problem, but we now have facts. We now have people travel and they can see that independent countries are doing well here in the Caribbean. And we are not. So how is being in this colony helping us? Back to the Democratic Party. Democratic Party, again, 70 years. 7 decades of dealing in this situation. Dealing with St. Maarten and governing St. Maarten when the Dutch didn't care about it. Dealing with the Dutch when they started to pay attention to it, and now that they are moving in different ways, the Democratic Party is still here. Sarah Westcott Williams is one of the technocrats as well of 10-10-10. That was a decision not by a government, but by people. A referendum did that. I think the same people have, and not just Sarah Westcott Williams, but I think when they get it, when everybody gets it, and this is where we need to go, when we have a referendum. That's one thing I really want to champion, that we have a referendum soon. You know, when we decide we want to be independent for whatever reason, and I can go down a list of reasons why we should, whoever is in Parliament is going to have to listen to the people. You know, so it's not a Democratic Party thing. An independent party by itself sounds like a niche idea, but independence is, we all have to come to that point to realize we are special and we can have our own say. And independence is not for us. That's, you know, we're in trying times. You know, things look crazy, and talking about politicians. These politicians, I don't want these politicians. How are they going to run a country? Independence is never for now. Independence is, we decide today for 10 years down the road. Most of us have kids. Are our kids not going to be ready to be in an independent nation? Are the new politicians coming up not going to say, oh, the direction of my country is to be independent? Let me think like we're going to be independent, instead of thinking like, can I get a grant from the Netherlands? Or can I get a handout? You know, let's start to think like we are. I mean, I grew up in a St. Maarten that was full of entrepreneurs. Independence was the way of life. And all our neighbors are independent. We are right here in the Caribbean, and we are not part of the Caribbean community called CARICOM.
Or the OECS.
Or the OECS.
Yeah.
So we like a little block in a gated neighborhood, and we just a little block that speak its own language and confuse its people with other languages of taxes, and we do all kind of crazy things on this side.
But in light of that, though, isn't it that St. Martiners and people who live here are, they feel sheltered to be part of the Dutch kingdom and part of, in case of the northern side, part of France, that why should we disrupt that for independence?
Right. I mean, because we've been having such a great time this way, right? that's sarcasm. They closed our border, we opened our border. When we had to feel what Europe was doing to us, there were strikes, there were riots. We went mad. The Prime Minister in the last 4 years, we got hit, in the last 7 years, got hit with a hurricane and then given loans.
By Holland?
By the same motherland. Sorry, motherland. I said the word wrong. This is not a good relationship. This is not a marriage. It's definitely not an equal partnership as it's being claimed. It's being claimed that we are equal partners in a kingdom. Really? That doesn't work that way, because one part of the kingdom controls the other part of the kingdom. And if you're going to be equal, we can also talk about when you get closer to the kingdom, because Sabin Station went closer to the kingdom. Are they doing well? The countries are doing well. Are the people of Sabin Station doing well? Ask a station. Ask a Sabin.
And that leads me to ask, how do you think St. Martin has done since it became a country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands?
I think we have been completely confused on what that means, being a country that should be autonomous, stuck in a kingdom that has laws that governs yours. We have a CFT, so we can decide how we want to spend our budget, because we see we need to focus on this. Let's spend our budget. Us St. Martin people, St. Martin ministers, people who live here and from here and work here, we make decisions on our budget, and some other body put there by the Netherlands, forced on us by the Netherlands, they decide if it's good or not. I once working for the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, they cut the budget 19 million guilders. Cut the education budget. A country like this, we're a new country, we should be growing minds here. We should be. And so just to answer, that's colonialism. Colonialism is no logic. It's about some people. Our economy here, since we've been in this status, what ministry has had the most ministers? TEAT, the Ministry of Economic Affairs. Possibly because the economy is so messed up here. But is it messed up because we can't get the product out of our economy that we think we want? Because our economy is a colonial economy. It was made and put together for a colony. And in a colony, we only have to work. We don't need to make decisions. That system was set up that way. So now moving forward, we need people to think, what type of economy does my country need to have for my people to thrive? Yeah. Because we see that in neighboring islands. They change their economic system so that their people can thrive. I've stayed in the Cayman Islands, and it's set up for Caymanians to always be well off. And for when foreigners come, the Caymanians benefit from foreigners being there as well. Yeah. And so the confusion that has happened since status apathy is what would happen when you take a colony and you make it think it's no longer a colony. But you remind it at every point in time, you're not in charge. This time we had the ministers, the governor who represents the king. He had opinions on what the next government should be. That's not his role. But he's in a system. How
long do you think it's going to take for people here to catch that vision that you're presenting? Because again, to my point earlier, to the question, people feel sheltered. Yes. Or at least the impression that they're sheltered because they're in a system that's protected. They're not open to the elements of what an independent country is exposed to. Because we're not allowed to look over the fence because we're not in the neighborhood, as I told you. So we're in a big neighborhood called the Caribbean, where there's a whole economic system. There's a monetary union. People can travel and work and buy land in different. We're in a neighborhood, and we in a walled
commune where we can't even see our neighbors. Because if we could see our neighbors, we would know what's possible. But we are sheltered, and you were saying sheltered, but this is Stockholm Syndrome. You know, our colonizer has made us feel so comfortable. And you can see it right now. You can see how much money is coming into the country, coming into the country to do programs and to do this and to do that and to do this and to do that and to do, yeah, because, you know, listen, they're arguing down there. Send some money down there, fix some things. That's not all it is.
So you don't think the system is benefiting or helping St. Martin?
I don't think this system is benefiting anyone. And I say kudos to every minister or MP ever that could have held their head together in this. But I think the perspective that has been missing is the system that we need to change.
Yeah. I'll give you the final words as we wrap up. Of course, you've made a clarion call for persons to vote for the Democratic Party and vote for you.
Yeah.
I'll give you the last opportunity to speak to the viewers.
Okay.
And tell them why they should come out and vote to begin with, because again, we talked about people being fed up and saying, you know, we just had an election, why do we need to go to the polls again? Why would someone need to come out and vote on August 19th?
On August 19th, think about your future, think about your kids, think about St. Martin, the past, and the St. Martin, the future you want to see. We are definitely in a very dark valley. This is our second election for the year, which means 3 months before that. So 9 months we've just been in a mess. We need to stop that. The way to stop that is to put parties, give them the power. Give parties the power, vote big, get your whole family and vote this time here, and vote for a party that is committed to real stability, because the party that keeps itself together. You know, if you can't keep your own party together, I don't know how you want to keep a whole country together. Vote for the Democratic Party. I am hoping to be your voice today for our future tomorrow. Vote number 11, Alston Lourens.
And on that note, we end this interview with Alston Lourens, the candidate on the Democratic Party list, here on this special edition of Inside Politics. Join us next time. We'll have another candidate from another party on the program. I'm Andre Huey. I was your host.